Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm feeling pretty insightful today, so there probably won't be much low board stuff, but we can get to that if you want. Welcome to the morning show. That's what it is. It's a show, it's a display of narcissism, but I hope that you're being entertained and I hope that you're doing well. Had an interesting day yesterday. A little bit of sad news. I was going to talk about it on the small channel, but I made a video and I hate it, so I didn't release it. Um, I don't know. I don't know how you guys can stand to listen to me talk. I really don't. Um, I need to redo it. So it's too. Sometimes we get on YouTube and we become and I'm just like, I don't want to be a part of that. I mean, I know I become part of that at times. And I don't know what's up with my mic. Sometimes it's like really loud and sometimes it's not. So, anyways, I hope all is well. Let's adjust that. There you go. So, you saw the hood watch and thought he drive it. No, that's a video I made last year. I think there's a volume on somewhere. Oh, okay, that's where it's coming from. Actually, I was coming home in an ice storm in that video. I delivered some shelving in Lebanon, Missouri, at a Walmart. That's where it's coming from. All right. So, anyways, I got too many damn cell phones. We'll get to the comments. We'll do our intros, and shout outs and everything, and then want to kind of go into something. And it struck me, I was watching Big Rig CEO, and he was talking about planning. And in his latest video, and it was a good video. Although, if you want to have a drinking game where you take a shot every time he says the word plan, you'll get drunk pretty quickly. But it's a good message, it's a good point. And the gist of it is, and we've all said this, is failure to plan is a plan to fail. And so it occurred to me that, and I always talk about backup plans, like what's plan A, B, and C, and D, and all that. And I don't know. Let me go over a quote I read. I was reading Ryan Mickler's book, his newest one, and he said something that was pretty. So when they moved to Maine, the locals told them, you're either preparing for winter or you're dealing with winter. And essentially, if you work trucking, now I'm not talking just spot market, but I'm talking about trucking in general. If you work with trucking, you're either preparing for slow times or you're dealing with slow times. I mean, you can apply that. I mean, you can you're either preparing for blank or you're dealing with blank. You're either preparing for the storm or dealing with the storm. Those are the two cycles of in existence. In other words, throughout the summer in Maine, you're having, in Sage, if you're watching, you probably can attest to this. You're working on food. You're working on, having several different sources of heat. Because, just like the squirrel, collects nuts for the winter, you're either preparing or you're dealing with it. And how you survive it is how well you prepared. And I think that's a mindset that we've lost working the spot market. Because when the rates are really good, and I'm not talking just 2 years ago. I'm talking about the exact cycles, the cycles that I've put on the screen, the EKG, the up and down volatility of the trucking market, and you can look at contract patterns doing the same thing. They're not as extreme, but they're still there. They're still ups and downs. And there's fixing to be a paradigm shift with contract freight. And that's something that's part of the cycle is eventually contracts are going to get negotiated down. And eventually they're going to start looking at the spot because you can run it cheaper. I mean, they're posting loads in my area for $1.10 a mile. Unless you want to go to a bad area, then you might get $1.90. You might get $1.90 to go to Denver or Florida. Now, if they're moving at that price, I don't know. I know that I've only booked like 2 loads that were under $2. But, and I'm going to go over a strategy that needs to happen in the spot market right now. And so you hear us YouTubers talk about how you've always should have prepared for what's happening. You've always should have prepared for the downtime. Always should prepare for the slow or the lower rates or whatever. And so what happens is your average trucking individual might be watching this or reading this, and then this anxiety fills up, and you become frozen in fear. And I think Pigtail was talking to me the other day, and he was talking about an article where the average cost per mile for most trucking companies is $2.35 a mile. Well, you're lucky to get $2.35 a mile right now, so that's not sustainable. So if that's true, what you're seeing is not sustainable. So when something's not sustainable, it changes. It's going to get worse before it gets better, kind of a deal. But it'll eventually get better. And so instead of sitting there going, well, I did not plan for this. I did buy an expensive vehicle. I did buy expensive equipment. Now what? And that's the title of the video. Okay, YouTuber, you're right. I didn't plan for this. I was not aware of this. My inexperience kept me from seeing that this happens. Now what? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. What are you going to do about it? And that is the true test of time. Because I can sit here and tell you, like a hypocrite, that you should plan and you should keep your costs low and you should do this and you should do that. Should. And I despise that word. Okay? Because how many times they're like, well, I checked my email, it should be there. Or, I went down to the bank, it should have been open, but it wasn't. Or I went to, this part, I replaced this part, it should work now. What happens if that should isn't true? Or, the other one shouldn't. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Well, okay, I did. What now what? Or, well, that shouldn't act like that. So it occurred to me that if you are feeling anxiety right now, if you are feeling anger right now, if you are feeling like things are at a total loss right now, where is that coming from? It's philosophy with Snorelord. Yay. Because I see some YouTubers do some videos and they're very angry. And you have to ask, where's that anger coming from? Where's the anxiety coming from? And so when you can ask that of yourself, then then now you're at the first steps of solving the problem. Because if you have, let's say, if these rates are giving you anxiety because you can't maintain your business, then you have to be honest with yourself and figure out why. Is it because I bought expensive things? Is it because I upgraded my equipment at the worst possible time? Is it because of my health? Is it because of external situations going on around me? Now, in the beginning of this video, I talked about how yesterday was pretty interesting. I'm sitting here and I hear air brakes. Now, I live on a dead-end street. I'm like, well, that's weird. Usually means it's the power company's here working on something with one of their trucks. Or it could also mean that some tow truck's going to come by and grab my truck. So I wanted to, or it could have been a garbage truck, right? So, but I don't remember garbage trucks coming down here on Thursday. So curiosity, I got up and looked. There was a fire truck, full lights. And there was an ambulance, no lights. And so I looked, and people were going in and out of the next door house. There was a distraught lady from that house. And I was like, oh, no, this doesn't look good. And the fire department left. The ambulance left without loading anybody in. And 3 cop cars remain. That's probably a dead body. And sure enough, medical examiner van pulls up. Come to find out that the neighbor who is always inebriated, he used to come over and tell me his grand plans of going down south and living a better life. His battle with alcoholism, he lost. And it was kind of it was definitely a bum deal. And so his daughter, I think she looked like she's in her mid-20s. She came up to me and said that, yeah, my dad passed away. And she told me what happened. She said he just drank himself to death. And so you can have these grand plans. I mean, he had a good plan. He told it to us all the time. But what keeps you from executing that plan? What vices do you have that's keeping you from executing your plan? And so there's this, I don't know, man. It bummed me out, definitely. I mean, because other than that, he was a nice guy. He was just battling some demons. I know several alcoholics in my world that are battling demons. And I have to tell you, just get some help, please. Because life is worth living, even though it may not seem like it. And these hardships that you have today are going to be blessings for you tomorrow. That may not make sense to you now, but you're going to have to read up on some Mark Manson to kind of get it. So I just want to put that out there, that when you can look inside yourself and find out what the real problem is, then you can make steps into bettering your business, bettering your home, bettering your health, bettering yourself. Because we can all sit there and like, oh, poor me, the rates suck. The brokers are horrible, blah, 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 blah. But until you change yourself, these things are going to keep affecting you in a negative way. I've been looking at some broker training material. And I think that the average truck driver like me doesn't realize the depth and the level that goes into moving a single load, acquiring the customers. All you people that say, well, skip the brokers, get the customers, do it. That's a great way to avoid the brokers. However, if you don't have that internal ability to deal with what you've already been dealt with, now you're going to put a new card on the table in front of you and try to play that hand. If you don't fix the root problem, that's not going to give you any results either. Next thing you know, you go out of business and you blame the rest of the world except yourself. And so when you do that, guess what? Plans, whether they work or not, can always be adapted and overcome. I'll give you a perfect example. My original plan when I got my CDL, and by the way, I found my old blog. I might try to find the link here if Twitter will let me log in. But when I first became a truck driver, my goal, because I had 2 little kids at home, was to do 1 or 2 years of OTR and then get off the road and do a day cab job. That's a great plan, Steve. Yeah, it'll be like boot camp, do 2 years of hard OTR driving, get your experience in, and then get into the ease of a local job. Well, that didn't turn out, did it? I had other friends that had the same plan, and they did that. They got off the road, they did the day cab jobs, and they were miserable. All except one. One does pretty good. But he had to get off the road. He had no choice. So because he has no choice, because of external circumstances at his home, he made the best of what he could do. Now he hopped around a little bit, but found the right job, and he's good to go. And I'll get to the comments. You guys are commenting, so I appreciate it. So what did I do? I changed my plan. I just, you know what? I said, OTR, I think is going to give me a little bit more freedom than a day cab job. I think I'm going to enjoy it more. So let's figure out how to be the best at doing this. And I figured it out. And it was a constant balancing act, but it was there. And so whenever I would make more money because I was making more miles, we would bank that. And it was easier to acquire savings. The wife needed X amount for me every week. Anything above that, we just threw in the bank as savings. I took what I needed and saved up money myself. So that plan changed, but it wasn't until I looked at my internal, like, okay, Steve, you could become a day cab driver, but would you be happy? Well, if I had no choice, I would figure out how to make that work. But I had a choice. So I chose the path that I already knew. And that's kind of where I'm at. So we can YouTubers can yell at you all they want. You should do this, and you have to do this, and you should do this, and you can't do this, and you won't do this, and you will do this. But in reality, what are you willing to do? I can sit here and say, go to Wisconsin all day long. Hey, freight's good in Wisconsin. But you know what? When you look at a load that pays $1.20 to go into Wisconsin, you're like, what the hell, man? I ain't going to Wisconsin. And so understanding why that rate is so low going into Wisconsin, and then now you're forced to look at, well, what can I do? Can I do this if my cost, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it just creates a whole set of questions. And I think that it's easier to DIY distracted me there. It's easier to watch YouTube, blame everybody else, talk about how everybody's an idiot because they didn't do what you told them. And then it's easier for the person watching to go, you know what? I know. It's an echo chamber. Awesome. Yes, I'm awesome because I'm surviving right now. it's easier to do that than to really look deep within yourself to see where your anxiety, where your anger, where your weaknesses come from. Anyways, write that down, wife. 2209 or somebody. All right, let's go with the comments here. You guys have been commenting like mofos. I appreciate it. Old school, new school, just outside of St. Louis. It's chilly this morning, ain't it? Gary Compton, good to see you, sir. My name is Nobody. Good morning. Getting our daily dose of the Lord of Snores. Have a great weekend. Rat, lay it down. Shut down in Grants, New Mexico. Not sure if I-40 West is open yet. Check the Googles. CDN, but that's a bummer. I-40 sucks sometimes. Sometimes, if time allows, if you're going west, sometimes it's almost better to drop down to 20. Good morning, Steve. CDN. CDN put out a video earlier. And thank you, CDN. I appreciate that. He put a video up yesterday. It's 27 minutes long. He'd probably appreciate it if you listen and watch. Cowardly Lion. Hey. That's such a lovely picture. Greg Zimmer, good morning. Steve from Edison, New Jersey. Good deal. That means you're on track. Pigtail, what's up? Joseph Courier. Hope I got your name right. Good morning. That looks like is that an SFI truck there? Desiroki Pam, good morning. Stuart the Hobby Trucker, welcome. Hobby Truckers Unite. Morning running FedEx to St. Paul. Good deal. Team Tiny, oh damn, saw the hood watch and thought he driving. Nope, I would not do it. Well, I do vlogs where I'm showing the the view from the hood, but I don't have a camera in my hand when that's unsafe. It's funny. Some of these like bonehead trucker videos, these people like, look at the guy being unsafe, with their phone in their hand. It's like, oh shoot. Yeah, can you say bonehead times 2? Trucking with T-Bone, good morning. Good AM, everyone. Mark, what's up? No, sir. Got home yesterday. Have tree limbs and crap to deal with from the ice storm. That sucks. I still got tree limbs all over our yard from our last one. It's getting pretty hard to stack 10K a week on my truck. Hit 7K a couple of times. It is. It's definitely difficult, and we can go over what to do about it, right? Like what can be done about it. Power's been out for 2 days. Thank God I got that generator. I highly recommend having one. I've got one. We just haven't put together yet. I got to take it out of the box and put it together. Now going out the first month, Midwest, baby. There you go. Sage, wood stove, pellet stove, gas stove. Yep. CNBC yesterday said contract rates are through the roof. Must have had last year's notes. Grafton, what's up? Jackknife, good morning, Snorelord. Good to see you. Truman just got off the road and home in Detroit. No power generator, but going, but not running right. So I guess that ice was pretty severe up there. Good morning. Finally catching you live. Always listen on the replay when driving. Thank you, Doug Kelly. Sorry, I was looking at your avatar. How many consecutive months was freight paying above $4 a mile versus how many months have rates been under $2 months? Shippers expect the cheap rates to last as high rates. Not only do they expect it, but they want that. I mean, think about it. If let's say I owned a little store that sold guitars, right? Or I build guitars. Not that I could ever build a guitar, but you know what I'm talking about, right? And I have to ship these guitars. And the FedEx guy comes up and he goes, yeah, it'll be $800.58. I'll be like, what? I mean, I did the eBay thing for a minute. I would scour, but back when I was a school bus driver, I would scour yard sales and thrift stores. I would buy shit that I didn't need. And I would go to these yard sales and I would buy like, hey, how much for the rest of this? And load it in my trailer. I have a little small 5x8 utility trailer. And But $20, man, it's yours. Or man, it's free. Just take it. You type in Craigslist free in yard sales, and you'll find like people just don't want to pack the stuff up. They just want rid of it. And I would sell it on eBay. I would sell it on Craigslist. I would sell it at this local swap meet that used to be on I-44 until Prime bought the property. Damn Prime. But anyways, I had fun with that. But you know what ate me alive? The eBay fees and the shipping fees. So I can relate to that. And so yeah, they want the lower rates. So morning, y'all, from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Thank you, Snorelord. All right, Alfalfa. Good on you. They said I could become anything I wanted when I grew up, so I just became comfortable. Gary, one thing I have always said is never go towards a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Right? DIY, is this where I come in for cutting edge news, sports, and weather? Yes. Yes, it is. The only sporting event that's worth the darn right now is NASCAR right now. Although there's 2 alternative football leagues getting ready to start. This is a trucking therapy session. DIY, yeah. Get with the program. Steve, sorry for your loss of your neighbor, regardless if you're close or not. Never easy to learn someone you know pass. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Six Zipper. Deep thoughts at 0700. Good morning, all. Nuggets so early. This is awesome. Thank you, David. And David, I'm going to talk to you especially. Okay, you just get in your CDL. Finding a good company might become difficult, but here's something that you need to learn about yourself. And this is for anybody who's new to trucking or anybody who's old to trucking. Let me give you an example. And DIY said this himself. If you find yourself constantly switching companies, is it really the companies that you're finding that's the problem? And I get a lot of like flack for that. Like, well, you don't know. I mean, because there are some crappy companies. Yes, I know. I am very well aware of the crappy companies that are out there that will misuse you, mistreat you, not pay you, treat you like meat in a seat, no respect. I get it. I know it. But I've been able to avoid it. Because if you're constantly picking the wrong companies, then you're not doing your research. Plain and simple. It's as simple as that. You are not doing enough research for that company. Another thing, if you're constantly switching companies, if you're constantly finding the wrong companies, maybe it's you. Maybe either truck driving's not for you, or you're a hard person to work with. You're a hard person to talk to. You have very little patience. So when you go to shippers and receivers and you sit at a dock for 8 hours for 2 pallets because you're at Cisco in Houston, and you don't handle that very well. So you get, the cops threaten to you all the time, and your company hates that because they expect you to be professional. Maybe that's the problem. I know that was oddly specific, but that happens. I literally watched that happen. I was at Houston at Cisco, and this guy was losing his mind because all he had was 2 pallets, and he'd been there for 6 hours. Now, I would be angry too. Not saying this guy was in the wrong, but how he handled it was difficult to watch and interesting at the same time. Kind of like a car accident. So, David, when you're choosing where you want to have your career, choose wisely. And whatever you choose, you're going to have to deal with it for a year. It makes your resume look a lot better. Now, a lot of companies don't care about how many companies you switched, but don't be that guy that works for 4 different companies every year. Don't be that guy. Because if you ever want to be a contractor like trucking, we kind of look at that. We're like, you've switched companies way too much. Where's the loyalty? Because in my experience, if a person's changing companies all the time, they either have no loyalty or they're hard to deal with. And so therefore, they're always against the grain, against the river. They're going upstream all the time. Everything's a constant fight. They're chihuahuas when they talk to their dispatchers or their safety personnel. And you don't want to be like that, because this trucking career can be awesome, but it can also be a curse. It's whatever you put into it. And luckily, when you're driving a truck 600, 700 miles a day and you got nothing but the open road in front of you, it gives you a lot of time to reflect. Turn off the distractions. Use your CB radio, turn it on, and then turn it down. If there's a little bit of chatter, then turn it up so you know what's coming up. But for the most part, you have to look within yourself. And so when you want to leave a company, you have to ask yourself, why? Oh, well, this company is doing this and this. So that's a great valid argument. But what you ought to do is go, okay, if this company is doing this and this, why are they doing that? Well, that's just how they are. Okay. So when I research the next company, I will make sure that they're not doing the same thing. And at the end of the day, David Edwards, at the end of the day, you're going to notice that there's not much difference between the trucking companies. The biggest difference is going to be the color of the truck and the name on the side of the truck. There you go. So take my advice, please, and don't be a job hopper, because it will only hurt your career. Because look, I'm going to go back to your comment here. So consistency is key, and that's what we're going to talk about with the spot market stuff. Consistency, doing the same thing every day. If you drink every day, that you see the path that leads down. If you practice guitar every day, you see the path that lays down. If you brush your teeth every day, you see the path that lays down. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? So if you're constantly switching trucking companies, well, how do you create consistency? The only thing you're creating is a consistency of changing companies, and you're going to be the safest driver in the world because you got to go through all their safety orientations. You got to learn how. You're going to be a master at learning how their workflow system works. You're going to be a master at mastering that. But beyond that, you won't have any consistency on how to deal with people, how to deal with dispatchers, how to deal with companies, how to deal with shippers and receivers if you're constantly changing how the game is played. Consistency is key on anything you do in life. Morning, Clyde. CB, morning from home time. Pale Rider TV, what's up? Pale Rider, you going to go live later? Good morning from Houston. Actually, Pale Rider usually goes live at 8 o'clock on Friday nights. Trucker Bill, good morning from Houston. Jason, morning Snorelord chat from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm sitting at Knight's main yard getting my truck service. Excellent. SST, hand pink waving. Truth, always do self-reflection. Yes. Snow Rider. Metalheads unite. Form of freak broker antagonist. Shoot. Sterling's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. Eliminate the broker and go direct to shipper, but be ready to run lanes you may not like, or use a broker to cherry pick loads from the same direct customer. The choice is yours. But is it the company or is it you, right? So, David, you're getting it. Get ideas from YouTube, not advice. There you go. Thank you, Pigtail. Get ideas from YouTube, not advice. Do your own due diligence. I have a strange suspicion if you find brokers a headache, you're going to find direct shipper headaches too, right? The lowest paying company ended up being the best pick for me. Go figure. I'm happier but poor. I've actually dealt with that, Rat. When I was a welder, I went to a place that was paying me like $2 less an hour, but man, I was way happier. The wife was pleased with that decision. Same thing with trucking. I worked for Transland for many years, the only company I've ever worked for as a company driver. And their pay was a little bit lower than everybody else. And you know what? So many people left for higher pay, and then they end up coming back. It got so bad that Transland put up a rule: if you switch companies more than twice in 1 year, we don't want you. So that eliminated people like, oh, the grass is greener over there because they're paying, 50 cents a mile, and then they want to come back to whatever we were paying, and because they realized that it was a good company. It had flaws, don't get me wrong, but it was a good company. Still is. Trucker tantrums are always difficult to watch, especially when you're the next person into the window, right? Hobby truckers, that's a profound observation. I-80 is closed to trucks over Donner. There you go. I've at my fourth company in 7 years. The first three were my first 3.5 years with my CDL. Pigtail, always chasing greener pastures instead of fertilizing, watering the one you're in. There you go. That's kind of what all this is about, right? Playing guitar every day is almost as important as praying every day. And there you go, CB. I'm getting ready to buy a new guitar, actually. I'm going instrument shopping tomorrow. You think that would sound fun, but it's not. I've spent most of my 32 years at 2 companies. The others promise the world and then deliver. Beware. There you go. Come on with it. And he's the one that's throwing the big, huge super chat. So he's making some money. He's making some good decisions. But Steve, you don't understand. My boss makes me drive nearly decade-old equipment. Join the crowd. Consistency. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. Thank you, Nothing Witty. That's pretty witty, Nothing Witty. Nothing Witty's name is witty in and of itself. If some of you haven't seen lately, there are some cab overs out on the road. I currently own one. It's currently being repaired. I would love to have a late 80s Peterbilt 362 with the 3 windshield wipers. I would want one of those. My dad had one of those. That was the last truck he owned. It was a double wide sleeper. It had a lot of luxuries inside, and he owned a reefer trailer. I think it was a 48-foot reefer trailer, which back then it was 48s were the rage. And it was stainless steel all the way around. It was a nice setup. It looked really good. I wish I had pictures of it. Thanks, SST. I own a 1988 Kenworth K100. My dad also drove one of those as a company. 2 and 9 years now, owner-operator. Love it. There you go. Stayed with current company for 5 years. Love the consistency. Don't make as much as an owner-operator, but not stress as much during the downtimes. Oh, Joseph, you probably do make more money than a lot of owner-operators right now. Trust me on this. I think if a large percentage of owner operators actually did the math at the end of the day, like actually ran their numbers, they're asking themselves the question, is it worth it? Because they're not making much more right now. Don't let the big numbers that we throw out here, fool you. Good morning from San Diego, G-Star. What's up? Good to see you. I've taken a $1,000 a week pay cut going company, but I'm thousands of times happier than owner op. I plan to buy another guitar and a new boomstick today. I'm done researching and thinking about both. Just going the toy up and get it off my mind. There you go. This might sound weird from a metalhead, but you got to understand I'm very open-minded musically, but I'm buying an acoustic guitar. I have this BC Rich Warlock acoustic. It's kind of a rare guitar, but it's also kind of more of a novelty. So, I tune it to itself. I hit a G chord. It's like, Glah! Like, yeah, the intonation and everything is off on this thing. So, and it's not appropriate for what I want to do. So, we're going shopping today. The wife and I made decisions. She's also getting a new bass. So, because the bass that she has now is very sharp and it's tuned to low B. It's we want something that we can that's a little bit mellower on looks, and we just tune it to standard. Oh, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And DIY mentioned that yesterday. There's a difference between failing and being a failure. It's two different things. I'm looking at a Reverend guitar, BC1. Huh, never heard of that. Warlock acoustic. Wow, yes. It came from the Class X days when they owned it in the 80s, and I've used it for one recording. It was a little bit of like a little dun 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 dun, intro on one of my songs. I think it's I can't remember the name of the song now. That's how old that song is. But yeah, it's a Warlock shape. I've played it in a live feed before. Maybe on the next guitar live feed I'll bust it out. But it's tough because I'll sit there and I'll spend like 10 minutes tuning it and then 5 minutes playing it. Now there's your guitar expert right there. How many guitars you own, Yukon? Like 53,198, something like that. So, but there's your guitar expert right there. Yukon's a great guitar player. So, it's all about the bass. Bass. So, now almost 300. There you go. Do you have a BC Rich acoustic Warlock? Huh, Yukon? Do you have one of them? I'll sell you mine. Quicket, million miles with the same company. There you go, Quicket. And look at Pale Rider. He just recently retired. He paid off 3 lease trucks, started a 4th, decided, nah, I'm out, man. I'm too old for this crap. And was he the richest owner operator bragging about $4 a mile out here? No. But you know what? He's a good dude. People like him. And he did okay. He did well. Aside from a few dispatch complaints, man, he did pretty well there. I'm going Gretsch hollow body. Those are too big. I don't like the acoustic I'm going to buy is not going to be like big fat. I hate big fat acoustics. I hate big fat guitars. So Carlos TQL sucks, but I don't miss the spot market. I will need some musicians for a channel I'm doing. How many channels you got? You got like 15 channels, 15 names for each channel. I'm feeling very grateful today for some reason. There you go, DIY. Steve, okay, let me read. Steve, what was it like back in the day, those moments before you went on stage to a packed room? Did the band hype each other? What did you think, feel? If you can't share, understand. The first 10 gigs, I was nervous as hell. And then my first gig that's out on video somewhere, man, you could tell my nerves. I was like, I was like squeaking and guitars are out of tune. It was a bad deal. But I soldiered through it. And how do you get good at something? You just do it repeatedly. So I got addicted to playing live. I mean, I got addicted to that rush, kind of like doing a live feed on YouTube. I'm like, yeah, I got 60 people in here. Oh, the dopamine rush, right? So, but after a while, you become experienced, and Apnea was known as a very well professional band. Like we knew where to put our gear. We didn't treat sound check like a tuning, contest or to work out a new riff or anything. We got up there, did our sound check. We did what we were supposed to do. We were always on time. And if the sound wasn't perfect, we just dealt with it because of all the different variety of venues that we played. We just dealt with it. Kind of like trucking. If we didn't have a PA, we dealt with that. If we had the most professional PA, we dealt with that. If the sound man didn't give us good monitors, we had a plan for that. If the drummer couldn't hear the guitars, we had a plan for that. If I couldn't hear my vocals, I had a plan for that. So it's just, and so I had a routine, I had a ritual that I did where right before a gig, everything's set up. Now we're just waiting for the time to go on. And what I do is I kind of get within myself. I don't talk to a whole lot of people. I just kind of pace a little bit. I did not warn my wife the first gig, and she thought I was being mad and ignoring her, and I wasn't. So after the gig, I was like, look, this is just my ritual before I go live. So it's not really nervousness. It's like partial meditation, partial visualization. And then regardless of the crowd, whether it was, 10 people or 300 people, which I think the biggest crowd I played for was like 400. That was when we opened up for Soulfly. I just treated it the same. And at some point, if the crowd's reactive, that gives you a high, but you can't let it get to you. And if the crowd's not reacting, you can't let that get to you. So at some point, you just kind of absorb yourself into the music. And when you're in the zone, everything's looking and sounding good, man, it's just, there's very few feelings like that. And so my ritual is to pace around and just kind of visualize what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, what the songs have been sounding like, and we always come in well rehearsed. So there you go, a little bit of guitar crap for you. I'll retire here. Good deal. I find that I have a rich bitch though. You have acoustic one? Don't. I've been trying to learn to claw hammer my banjo. There you go. Good deal, man. Gratitude is an attitude. Absolutely. Sterling, for my banjo fund. Thank you very much, Sterling. Everybody check out his channel. He did a video on the gun range, and that's well edited, Sterling. I was very impressed with that video. Thank you for the $50. I appreciate that. That's a hard technique. Good luck with it, but worth the hard work. There's probably a lot of good YouTube tutorials for learning any instrument. SSD, I suck so far, but yep, do it every day, man. You'll get better. Hey, I have 2 years experience, but all mostly local, around 200 miles of yard, which is what is going to be different about OTR. I scaled loads and took down mileage as I crossed state lines. You're going to be bumping knocks less. So you're going to have moments of being on the interstate and just not having a care in the world. A lot more time. I think that the biggest headache of being a truck driver is the absolute disregard, disrespect, and the waste of precious time. And time is your most precious commodity. In my Facebook memories, it would pop up me complaining at a shipper or receiver. And there was one post, man, I can't wait to become an owner op, because when I become an owner op, I'm not going to waste my time at these docks. So oblivious. And I laugh at that. But at that time, I was struggling. I was suffering. I was mentally anguished. And now I look at that, and that's what helped me grow. That's what helped me understand. And it's through pain that we become better, smarter. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. There's a meaning to that. Trying to find an OTR job is the reason I'm asking. The logbook is the biggest thing, the regulations. Other than that, you've got the best skill sets, because I always think that the best training programs for someone out of CDL school is to do 4 weeks OTR, but 2 weeks local, because that's where you learn how to maneuver through traffic. That's where you learn how to bump the dock. That's where you learn how to drop and hook. And those three skills are some of the most important aspects. It takes more skill set to drive through a big metropolis on the interstate, or through the city streets of, like, say, a place like Pittsburgh or Dallas, than just getting the road down I-80 if it's not closed. And don't become complacent with the amount of easy driving that you're going to have. But you really need to, you're going to have to, in order to be more productive, you're going to have to utilize your clock and maximize how you do your pre-trips and your fuel times, and be efficient at your clock. And that's going to be the biggest learning curve for you, is instead of just the 14-hour clock, now you're doing 11, 14, 70. And there's split breaks and all that kind of stuff that you're going to have to utilize depending on how you're dispatched. Wait, let me go back. Never ever has a drummer said they couldn't hear the guitars. No, that's not true. T-Bone, we played a gig. It was an outdoor festival, and this was in my early band, and we played our first song, and I noticed the drums were off, and I looked at my drummer, who's an awesome drummer. His name is Brian Stokes, and that dude's a machine. And he goes, "Steve, I can't hear the guitars." So luckily I had two cabinets, and I literally took one of my 412s. This was like some local festival that was poorly put together. And so it wasn't like a professional sound system. So I literally took one of my cabinets and pointed it directly at him so he could figure out where we were in the songs. And we already rehearsed songs without vocals, because a lot of, like, well, I couldn't hear the vocals, so I didn't know when the change came up. Well, I learned the hard way that's not a great way to do that. So that's a rare occasion that the in a big stage setup, sometimes it's the monitor situation. All you can hear is brrr, especially in heavier metal stuff. So that's kind of where I say that, where that's coming from. Very cool. Thanks for sharing, CDN. Store Rider, you need cowbell too. More cowbell. Thank you. Oh man, you've been very generous, Sterling. Thank you. And those of you who don't know, Snore Rider is also Sterling, and he also has a channel. Oh man, I hit 10 docks a day doing local. I can dang sure back. There you go, man. You've got the most important part. CB Snore Rider. Is Google Map more accurate than 511 app for current road conditions, conflicting info? I have no idea. I've never used 511. So each state, I know Missouri has like an actual map, like MoDOT has a map of road closures and road conditions. So I would see if the state has a road condition website or app. So all I drove in was crazy rush hour traffic, no accidents, 2 years. Excellent. You're on. Just don't get cocky. Don't be complacent, and OTR will be a breeze. You need to get used to long drives. It's not that fast paced, right? Now you're going to do 500, 550, 600, 650 miles a day windshield time. And so you're going to figure out that your seat's not that comfortable. You're going to figure out that you get hungry. You're going to figure out you're going to get bored. And what you do during those times is going to be important. Yeah, Tebow makes a good point. He thinks that 511 would be more accurate as they are more localized. There's generally a 511 app for each state. Yeah, there you go. LTL companies will value your experience. That is true. Good morning, Shannon. Good to see you. Perspective is a great tool when looking at a prospective trucking company to drive for. Find an old hand and see what they think about your potential carrier choice. NM511 says I-40 West close. Google shows open. That's a tough one. I hear you. It was mainly joking. I've gotten that stage rumble versus hearing hearing the parts as well. It's tough when it happens. It's about frequency balance too, T-Bone. There's so many like death metal guitar players that have the scoop sound. You know, when you look at their EQ, it looks like a smiley face, like a big scoop. And so when there's no mids, you can't hear the guitars. They might be loud, but you can't hear the notes. You can't hear the different dynamics. And so with no mid range, you're all you're hearing is shh. You know, that's all you're hearing in death metal. So I was a master at learning mid range after a good lesson with one of my guitar teachers. It's all about frequency, man. Google Maps shows more accurate live data. It's based off of cell phone movement. Use 501 or state maps for traffic cameras to verify. Uh, See, so 511 is usually so it's back and forth of what's more accurate. They're more accurate but slower to update information. LOL, thanks, or okay, thanks. Been here 22 hours. Itchy feet. Yeah. In-ear monitors was a game changer. I have never used in-ear monitors. I never got to that professional level. The last time I played a gig was in 2016, before those were really a thing. So, I mean, at least in the local area here. But I would be curious to try. I can't get those earbuds to stay in my ears. I have a lot of earwax. You know, I'm kind of gross. You know, but I don't know how well those would stay in, and I don't know if I want something directly in my ear. I mean, just get a good monitor mix, which I guess a lot of live shows don't use monitors anymore. Good morning. Sorry I'm late. Wheelburner, good to see you. Good morning to you, sir. Still out here, David Rumerman. Hope it gets a little better come May. Keeping my toes crossed. Channel 19 also love metal, so been listening to some Gojira already this morning. Gojira's From Mars to Sirius was when I first started trucking. Oh my gosh, that album helped so many miles. I love that album. That's one of my favorite top 10 albums. Is that album right there? Gojira is good stuff. All right, so part 2 of this live feed at 59:27. Back to the low boring trucking stuff. This is going to be the most important thing that you might have to hear. 2 words can be a game changer. Book ahead. That's right. Book ahead. Because if you don't, you're going to get a crap rate. Your negotiation will have little leverage, and you're probably going to end up out west. Book ahead. Now, you might find the rare occasion that you can book day of. You might even find the rare occasion where you can book the day of every day of the week. But those days are becoming slimmer and slimmer. There's no more, well, if I wait till the day of, I'll get $200 or $300 extra. No, you won't. Trust me on this. Ask me how I know. Thursday is the day to book your Monday load. Monday is the day to book your Thursday load. If you're running long, you have a little bit of time. So if it's Monday and you're going to be in Seattle on Friday, you need to have that load booked by Monday and Tuesday. That's where having a dispatch service like myself helps you, is I can book ahead. Now, I understand that there are some loads that you don't know what's going to happen at the end of them. You don't know how long it's going to take to unload or to load. You don't know what the roads are going to do, obviously, this time of year. And those are all factors. And the worst thing that can happen is what? You have to cancel a load. Well, I-80 was closed. Now I'm late on this load. I can't make the next pickup. And if you have a good relationship with the broker, guess what? They're going to understand that you're not full of it. They're going to understand, especially give them proof that this happened in an effort to prove to them that you just didn't book that load and found something better. Booking ahead is key, especially if you're going into a dead area. Now, there's an occasion where you're waiting for this. Let's say that you have some multi-stop loads that come out of Dallas. They always pay better than anything else. And so you call that broker and say, hey, I'm going to be there on Monday. Will you have anything? And they go, well, we don't know, but we expect the list to come out Monday. So you take the gamble whether you should book ahead or hope that they have something on Monday. Sometimes hope is a bad business plan. So, or most of the time, I guess. So that is something that you want to keep in mind. And I know that sometimes the load cancels. Wow, my load coming out of Butte, Montana just canceled. Now what? Well, that's a bad day. That's a bad situation. And so you have to be prepared. Okay, what will I do if? That's the other thing you can do. So let's say that you're booking ahead and you're like, okay, this moron with a beard said, I need to book ahead. So I'm going to do that. But hey, I just had a load cancel. Now what? So let's say it's Monday, and you book your Friday load. And you've got your rate con, you've got it mapped out, you've checked Google Maps to make sure that the reviews are what they are. You're good to go. You're like, oh, I've got a load out of Butte, Montana for Friday morning. Yay. But in the back of your mind, you should be, what if it cancels? What will I do if it cancels? So what you do is you continue to look at that market. At night, when you shut down, instead of watching some raving lunatic on social media or watching some news program that has nothing to pertain to you but gets you all upset, instead of doing that, look at the market, look at your load boards, look at your email list for things that might be coming out of Butte, Montana. What is your plan B? Now, I could sit here and tell you, well, just don't go to Butte, Montana. Well, sometimes you have that $5 mile load that will go up there. Why? Because no one else wants to go to Butte, Montana, right? Nothing against Butte, Montana, by the way. I've been there. The thing I remember the most is plastic palm trees that were at this business that I was delivering next to. But anyways, constantly look in the market. Okay, if this load cancels, what I'm going to do? What's my strategy? Okay, it looks like I'm going to deadhead X amount of miles to get to X amount place or X place, right? That could be a strategy. And if there's only 2 loads coming out of Butte, Montana, then okay, where am I going to deadhead? And try to book a load before you do that deadhead. Perfect example, Denver, Colorado. My strategy is we get to Denver, check to see if our normal stuff is there. If it's not, use the day to deadhead to Kansas City. But before you depart for Kansas City, book that load before you even move that truck. Because if you sit for a day in Kansas City because there's nothing at the last minute, then you end up losing time. So there was a time where I did that. I had delivered shopping carts in Denver, and I was like, "Oh man, there ain't nothing coming out of here that's worth. I mean, a lot of beer loads. I don't want to do that, huh? So what am I? Oh, empty cans. They pay better. Oh, they're all going to dead areas. No, I don't want that. Oh, so I looked at Kansas City market. Kansas City. Oh, here's a load coming out of Edgerton, Kansas for tomorrow. Book it. Call the broker, book it, look at the market, just in case the load cancels, and Kansas City is a decent market, and then I get in the wind. I did that with these loads going to Kentucky, just outside of Evansville, Indiana. When I couldn't find something that suited my needs, I looked at St. Louis for the next day and booked that. And then I deadheaded to St. Louis. So that's a strategy. And that's why this live feed's labeled Now What? Because you can have the best laid plans, best laid plans, and they're going to go awry. The best laid plans go awry of mice and men, right? So, that's a strategy because we're living in a market now where you have almost no choice. At some point in your week, to maximize your profits, you're going to have to hit a dead area in one way or another, or a low rate area like Dallas or Denver or Jacksonville or Boston. Must be 8:00. YouTubes are going crazy. So that's a strategy that we deal with. Because I can sit here and show you these maps all day long. I could sit here, this is for all trailers. Let's do van. I can sit here and show you all these. It's like, well, just stay between here and here. Okay, well, what if that revenue is not good enough? What if your dedicated freight, what if your contract rate and you're using the spot to come back takes you into Washington, takes you into Oregon, takes you into Montana, takes you into Arizona? What do you do about that? Well, number one, you got to book ahead. And number two, know that market and know what it takes to get out. And know this, that if, for example, Florida is a perfect example. Florida is a soft market coming out. And you know what that does? It makes everybody go up to Georgia. Well, Georgia might be a great market volume wise, but guess what? The rates are lower. You know why? Because everybody's coming up from Florida. So a soft market it's like a disease. It can make other markets around it soft. And Texas is its own beast by itself. So just know that. And the Northeast is its own. You might as well, from Pennsylvania all the way up to Maine, that's considered one state to me. If you deliver in Maine, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Vermont, Massachusetts, you're more than likely deadheading back, unless you find something like. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. My computer it went blank and said we're restarting. Like, I'm in the middle of something. That was weird. So, but no, Jeff didn't call. Not this time. Let's go back to the comments here. All right, we talked about that. So I've also we already read that. Wheelburner is the North Pole dancer. Wheelburner is a home dancer. Is home dancer. How do you know? I booked until next Friday. Good on you, Shannon. Heading back up the Midwest market finally. The ice wasn't thick enough to support the weight of the wheelburners. Big balls. Wheelburner, I told you can't burn wheels on ice. You melted it, didn't you? You wasn't lying about how bad the rates are. I don't be on the spot market no more, but I booked something for $1.60 Mississippi to Texas. Yeah, usually it's the other way around. Texas and Mississippi, you're getting $1.60. Look, I'm seeing rates that I haven't seen this low since 2019 or 2020. I'm sorry, in my area. I was looking at the low board the other day. I might run a load. I'm like, no. Oh well, may the smoldering embers of failure light your new way. Dennis, what's up? I-80 is now closed to all traffic on Donner Pass. There you go. Creating a round trip direct shipper dedicated run is possible. You need luck and a good salesperson or know someone. That's me saying, hold on. David, if you're still in here, I have an email in the description of the video. So, but anyways, that slowed my roll pretty much, didn't it? Well, I was talking too much anyways. So, guys, I'm going to get off of here. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Be sure to tune in to Pale Rider tonight at 8 o'clock if he usually goes live. Also, I will be doing an interview on Sunday with a insurance guy. And please subscribe to this channel. Because if I do a guitar live feed, it will be on. Well, it'll be on this one and the small one as well. And if I do that, that might be tomorrow night. But I think Sterling's doing a ladies trucking trivia thing tomorrow night, so I don't want to step on that. So who knows? Who knows what? But definitely check out Sunday at 6 p.m. Central here on this channel. We will be doing an interview with an insurance guy. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we will give time for the crowd to ask what they want. Thomas Wilson, good morning. I'm doing fine. I haven't missed a beat. Actually, making more. Good deal. Fantastic. I'm going to shoot you an email today. Good deal. Thanks for the info. Absolutely. 6 p.m. for my show. There you go. Well, that's your time, but 8 o'clock Central, my time, right? On Saturday. So, look, there's a lot going on right now. Don't let it bring you down. And Thomas, if you want to watch the replay, we barely talked about trucking. Kind of, it was more philosophy than anything else. So there you go. Truckers, ladies, trivia time. There you go. Trucker ladies trivia time. So, anyways, thanks for watching. I thank everybody for the views I've gotten this week. I appreciate that. 48065 on the 123 low board. And if you want to show support of the channel, that's how you can do it. Liketrucking.com if you're thinking about switching companies and coming over here. We're looking for contractors that have their own trucks, and we can supply trailers. So no need to go buy a $50,000 dry van. So, but anyways, guys, thanks for watching. And all the links that you need are in the description of the video. My email, contact. Make sure you join as a member if you want and get access to material. Oh, I appreciate. I did a video. I did a recorded video. I did it in vertical mode, and because I thought I was going to do it in under a minute. Well, it ended up being 9 minutes, and it was to brag about a microphone, a wireless microphone that a subscriber got me that is excellent. I did my research on that. He did the research on it before he sent it to me, and he said this is going to be awesome, and it was. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be safe, be good, and be well. If you want to change the world, start with yourself. That's by Hatebreed. So, with that being said, thanks for watching. Strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Peace.